Hi everybody, so as promised we're going to dive in to do a little demoing of how to work with Tim Holtz and Ranger Distress Oxide ink. So this is actually my first time I've ever used the Oxide ink pads, so I'm really excited. I've got an acrylic block here that we'll use at one point. You might want a little water bottle or a cup of water that you can spritz, spray, or dribble. In the last video, we prepped a whole bunch of foam ink blenders to go with the different inks that I'll be using. So I filmed some of my videos on top of a Ranger craft mat. It is non-stick. It does not stain. It does wrinkle a little bit, especially if I accidentally smush it up as I'm moving things around. But it's just a slick, non-porous surface that I can use to wipe up excess ink that I'm not using. Got a little old dish towel here. Got some cardstock, some white cardstock. This is just some Michael's Recollections brand white 4x5 by 6.5 cardstock. So the standard card I make is a 5.5 by 4.25 card. So this is nice. This is big enough that you could, have a little something going on ink-wise that you like down here and trim off this part that you don't want to use. So yeah, so let's just get playing here. I'm gonna pick out some colors that I want to play with first. Okay, let's see what we got going on here. Okay, so I'm gonna start with antique linen, fossilized amber, and wild honey. It's nice that they have 3 languages here on the label, but it is hard for me to find the name as fast. So I go through my little foamy foams here, try to find fossilized amber, wild honey, and antique linen. Okay, so I only have 2 of the handles, but it doesn't matter. You can switch them out very easily. So Jennifer McGuire is another crafty YouTuber who I enjoy watching a lot, and she's got some longer videos that go in depth into really specific techniques about using the foam blenders and distress ink if you're interested. That's not really what I'm here to do. I'm not teaching you exactly how to do it. I just want to play with it. See what we get. I don't know if it's just the ink pad that I have or if it's a quality of the oxide inks, but I do find them to be a little drier than the regular Distress. And again, it could just be that I bought an old ink pad that's been lying around the store for a few months and it's a little dry. So I'm not really taking my time making this a seamless blend like you would, or like you could. You can really carefully make sure that you're not having any slightly darker or lighter splotches, but I'm just too excited. I want to see the inky crazy magic happen. Okay, I go into some fossilized amber. So this is a fresh foam, and you'll see as you tap it, on there. You build up that color a little bit. I kind of want to prime it on there a couple times. This ink pad seems on the drier side too, so maybe that is just a quality of the Distress Oxide ink that isn't so much a part of the regular Distress. That's pretty smooth and glides over the surface. It shouldn't really matter on the paper, but... So when we spritz this in a little bit, the ink will travel a bit and will blend at those edges better than it is, you know, just with me. Oh, come on, little blender. There we go. Just with me kind of rushing through it here. This is not my method of choice for, sorry, get out of your way there. There we go. For applying ink. After we do this, I'll show you a way that I find to be a lot faster. So with the bright light shining, it looks like there isn't really any ink there, but it's there. It's just very soft and pale, very parchment paper colored, very, very light. Okay, so doesn't look too pretty at the moment. We're gonna play with it, see what happens. So, Distress ink maintains a lot more of its true color, or I should say, it just maintains its true color. I've heard, and I've kind of seen, that this ink, you know, it's called Oxide, that it lightens a little bit, and I think even whitens as you spray it, so let's see what we get. So you can see it has that classic Distress wicking look where the water really makes it move around. Waiting to see is what happens as far as oxidation. So I do have a heat tool that I can use to speed that process up, but just being a little lazy and going in with this to try to speed it up. I have cat fur on that. It is softer than it was before the water, much paler. So let me show you the other technique that I'm used to a little more. So you just directly apply the ink to your crafting mat. If you were going for a look that didn't oxidize all of the ink with the water, you wouldn't want to do this, but I just really like it. So these are really milky and chalky, I'm seeing. Definitely different than what you would get if you just had the regular Distress inks, which are much more like, you know, a crayon, bright crayon or marker type of pigment. Ooh, that's nice. Ooh, that's pretty. Ooh, that's pretty. know if you can see. So there's a nice light area that didn't get a second dip into the ink that I really like. That corner's getting nice and dark, which I really like. So we're going to set that off to the side to dry. So there's some really good ink still left on here, so we're going to go in and scoop that up. And while we're laying down our second batch of inks, that'll start to dry. Yeah, definitely a chalky, milky feel to it. Oh, that's pretty. That's really nice. On camera, I think it looks a little more yellow than it is. It's pretty soft. It's a real nice, soft canary yellow right now. Wipe that up. Scooching it around there, sorry. Okay. Who do we want to play with next? Move those out of the way. Ooh, got an ink pad on the run, Come back. Who do we want to play with on top of that? Let's do a little peeled paint. Ooh, nope. Twisted Citron. With those, this is more blue and that's more green. But I'm gonna do it. So, just because I'm curious, I want to see what this looks like. Just blended directly on to a corner, to a corner of Twisted Citron and then a corner of the cracked pistachio. Get in there, ink. Yeah, definitely a drier consistency. By now, with the Distress, this would look like that. Very interesting. I'm not used to that. Okay. Ooh, this looks like Easter. So if you come in right here, I don't know if I can get the light to catch it. Very similar colors. This one's just ever so slightly greener. There is a spot where they blend, but they're so similar they're not really distinctly different that way. So I'm curious to see what happens when it gets wet, because normally with Distress they're very different. Cracked pistachio. There we go. So we'll do that over here. Isn't that beautiful? You know how there's Tiffany blue? It's like if there was a Tiffany mint. Which I guess some people think that Tiffany blue is mint, but I don't. I think it's just a little too blue. Okay. Yeah, so you can see how it pretty much just stamps straight down. I don't know if it's so bright. And it's not blending. So Distress ink usually has a much larger surface area that one little application of ink would cover. This is much splotchier. Yeah, I'm not a fan of it in this form at all. I really don't think that's what it's for. So let's see what happens. So this sprayer is really cool because if you spray really quickly, you get that really fine mist. But if you spray slowly, you get the big dribbles. That is intentional. So that, let's see. Getting some pooling, some wicking, some lightening. Lightening, not lightning. lightning right there, and it's pulling it away. So if you dab that up and pull that ink off, that was re-wet. Oh my gosh, this is just covered in cat hair. You do get this sort of milky lightning, which is so nice. And so I spritzed right here too, and this was dry yellow, but it's lifted off. Let me see if I can show you a little bit right here. So we're looking right here. Give it a second. It will re-wet it. It'll start to lift it off. So that little spot right there was yellow, but we lightened it. Come over here. So this is the property that you're looking for if you wanted a dark background and then creating that Milky Way galaxy look with the highs and lows in value there. But first I do want to just do a little bit of the fun stuff here. So I try not to overlap the colors too much when I place them on the craft sheet, because I don't want to get transfer on the pads, but it's not life or death if it happens. It just, you can hear a cat mining for gold, digging his way to China. Hey, 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 what are you doing? We were sleeping for hours upon hours until I decided to do this. So this is really cool. What I like about this is, okay, sorry, had to pause there to go help the cat chill out. If I were comparing these to markers, regular Distress would be kind of like a bold colored marker, whereas this is very pastel, which is super, super cool. Let's see. A little broken china down on here. Oh boy. Yeah, very chalky. Very, very milky and chalky. Wow. Interesting. Very interesting. So the first one I did, the corners aren't quite dry yet, but very, very soft. Very pastel. Almost reminds me of like something you could use for a dinosaur background or a desert background. Very, very soft. Very cool. So the last thing I want to try before wrapping it up here, I didn't have, I know I just wasted all that, that's bad. I didn't have a blending tool for the black soot, but that's okay. I'm not really happy with using them that way anyway. I just want to make a big old pile. If I can get a real spacey galaxy look. Hey you. Hey you naughty cat. What are you doing? What are you doing? It's funny when you spray it, it instantly looks gray. I don't know if it'll get very black. Wow, that is black ink, and it just turns completely gray. That's interesting. Huh. So I'm thinking, it almost looks like a chalkboard. I'm thinking that whatever base color you're going for, unless it is purely 100% pastel, you're probably going to want to stick with your Distress colors and then just use this for accents maybe? Yeah, I mean that's the darkest, with black ink that's the darkest I'm getting at. Sorry, whap. Let's see. Just tapping the edge, the very, very edge of the ink pad onto the craft sheet. Faded jeans. Oh, yeah. Kind of an iridescent quality to it where it got the most water there. Let's see. Kind of made mud. Friends that don't craft say they get stuck coming up with the idea, but in my experience, the hardest part of crafting, and what you do get better at as you go, is the fixing of mistakes. I mean, so much of crafting is just not liking something, figuring out what to do about it, really. And then, at least for me, once I built up my confidence that I could fix something without throwing the whole darn thing away, that's when the ideas weren't so much the problem. Because I knew that whatever time I invested into it, I could probably make it into something I was happy with. Or at least use part of it. And learn from it. Especially with Pinterest out there. I mean, there's no shortage of ideas out there about what you can make. It's like in my mind, this was going to be a much darker black background with little bits of white, but you know, what I learned from that is that's not how this works. I need to start with a black background and then maybe make a little pool of the black soot here and then flick it on. But I don't hate this. This is pretty cool. I think this would make a cool background for a kid's birthday card, especially with like some neon letters. It's kind of got an 80s chalkboard distress look to it, so it's pretty cool. Let's see how this one's doing. Let's throw some pink on that before we go, just to make it full on Easter. Picked raspberry and worn lipstick and see what we get. I mean, even if you just use a little, 2 by 2 inch piece of this, it's not a waste. You're making, ooh, that didn't want to come off. You're making something. You're using that right side of your brain, which gets so neglected. Problem solving, you're relaxed. So you can see there's a little puddle of like robin's egg blue there. That's because the water reactivated the ink and it's making that kind of steely gray color there, but I don't mind that. I think that looks cool. Everything you do just adds another layer. Make a bookmark out of that, an Easter card, birthday, Mother's Day, get well, all sorts of stuff. Alrighty, well, win, lose, or draw. I had fun and I hope you did too. And let me know if you want to see just the regular Distress ink sometime. Alrighty. Hope you enjoyed the crazy cat sounds, and I hope you have a wonderful day wherever you are. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.